Hello everyone, Scott here again. Welcome back to Hyperbole. I know it's hyperbole, but Hyperbole makes it mine. Just got out of Batman, The Killing Joke. Ignore the date. A little over 24 hours ago. Yeah, went last night. This didn't want to record it yet because I didn't want to make a 50-minute Batman versus Superman Hyperbole. There's important things to know with this movie. It's based on a graphic novel, which is essentially a double-sized comic book. So it's very short in as far as the story. So they had to beef it up. And you have a whole bunch of stuff and then eventually get to an amusement park, like for Act 3-ish. And that's where Killing Joke kind of starts, if I remember correctly. And my phone just buzzed. They had to beef this thing out. And I think they did a really good job. Now, there's controversy everywhere on this thing as far as for what they did to the characters, what they added, how it wasn't needed, etc. As far as I'm concerned, what they added had no negative impact whatsoever. Was it needed? No. And that's kind of the key there, is that it doesn't it didn't detract by it being there as far as I'm concerned, but it still didn't need to be there. It didn't help. It helps in some ways, and there is that. Overall, I think it's great. I do plan to pick up the Blu-ray. It comes out, I think, in two weeks or so. Get it on disc. It's a good one for the collection. It has awesome animation. There's a couple bits here and there, but there always are. A couple bits here and there that don't look quite right. Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as Batman and Joker are fantastic. Tara Strong is Batgirl. She's great. Commissioner Gordon's great. The cast is superb across the board. Which is to be expected in some ways. But there's always worry about that one character. No, this comes off very much like just adult, normal stuff. Not kids show. And the Batman animated series was always a bit forward on that. But this one was all in. So there is that. The action and animation itself was really great. It helped by using bits from Killing Joke, because Brian Boland's art is amazing. And the stuff they added, like half the movie is additional stuff that doesn't exist anywhere else. It fit right in stylistically in some ways, in that it's supposed to be a little more upbeat before the dark from Killing Joke. It just feels good in ways. Like, it looks like it's the calm before the storm, for lack of a better term. I don't want to get into any spoilers before I really give my final verdict on it. I do want to talk about it because there is some stuff to mention. But overall, absolutely worth seeing. Thrilled to see it on the big screen. We got to actually see a bit about Mark Hamill first getting the Joker part leading into it, and then what that is, and the legacy continuing of him being the Joker. And then the end of it was stuff about the music, which was really cool to hear them talk about it and stuff. So that was just kind of a neat bonus on it. But it's kind of even less reason to get the Blu-ray and such, because I got to see some special features, but there you go. People are all up in arms as to stuff they've changed and whatnot. As far as for adapting The Killing Joke, they adapted The Killing Joke. But they also extrapolated. And that's where we'll get into spoiler stuff. So that's going to be in a second. I keep saying that, but overall, absolutely see it. If you like Batman stuff, see it. 100%. It is rated R. It's not for kids, but there you go. Now, spoilery type stuff, the opening bits is Batgirl. It starts with her. It even says, you didn't expect this, did you? It is Batgirl. It is the 1970s, 1980s classic blue suit, yellow boots up to her knees with heels, yellow gloves, proper Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. I know there was Kathy Kane before. It's the Batgirl Barbara Gordon everyone knows and loves. It's not the silver purple outfit from the 60s show. It's the one that kind of was modern and the one that Joker took out. Here's what we got. In The Killing Joke, the whole thing is Joker wants to prove everyone's one bad day away from going crazy just like him. And we get some origin stuff, which is it real, is it not? But that's the idea of where it comes from, about how he had one bad day and so could you, and you could go crazy. His whole thing is he wants to have Jim Gordon have one bad day and go crazy. Barbara Gordon's a victim of that. Just shows up, shoots her in the spine. It's a bit on the nose about paralysis, but, he went in with a mission to do it and had some really rough jokes about the amusement park isn't handicap accessible and things. And, ooh. But the fact that Barbara Gordon was the victim of that is because it's Jim Gordon's daughter. Joker had no idea he was doing it to Batgirl, and that's tragic. And people are up in arms, and have been since it came out in the 80s, about how Batgirl was used as a plot device. Yes, she was. And that's the point. Now, it is of an era of chauvinism and male stuff where apparently one of the editors even said, cripple the bitch, as far as for the editing meetings regarding, should we do it to Batgirl? These things still happen. That's how the Death of Superman even happened. The guys had their annual retreat and went in to talk about what they want to do for Superman for the year, and were always going in saying, we should kill him. No. And then they go on. But this one year they were so mad about not getting to do the wedding stuff because the Lois and Clark TV show did. They said, why don't we just kill him? And they did. So spite's not a new thing, I guess, on the DC side, but someone's character is always someone's favorite. That's a line from a Marvel editor. Because Hawkeye died. He hadn't had his own series ever at the time. He had a mini-series here and there, I think. And he died. And people were up in arms. It's like, what? Where's all the Hawkeye love coming from? But they knew. They knew. Like, you're supposed to react. That shouldn't happen to this guy. Batgirl being the victim here is tragic for her. It puts a bad end on her story and things there. But she lives. She's paralyzed, like waist down, wheelchair. But the fact that it's her is just another case of women in refrigerators. Because one of Green Lantern's girlfriends got dismembered and chopped up and put in a refrigerator. And that's where that kind of comes from. Women should not be plot points for their male counterparts. Thing is, it's the damsel in distress scenario, and it's as old as that kind of story. And when you have a predominantly male-led industry, be it creator-based or character-based, the girlfriends are going to be the victims in those stories, or the targets. That's why Peter Parker never wanted to give up who he was as being Spider-Man, because Aunt May and MJ, then these people would be targeted. That's core concept type stuff. Is it fair to those characters? No, absolutely not. It's not fair to the guys or girls. And proves the villainy of the evil ones. Okay? I'm not advocating any of that. At the same time, it works in that tragic way because the extrapolation on top that they did was they had Batgirl showing how good she is. They've always talked about how Dick Grayson was brought in as Robin because he learned from Batman and he had a similar tragic past. Jason Todd, kind of similar, and Joker murdered him, and that's referenced in this actually. But Barbara Gordon is just inspired by her dad's police commissioner. She's inspired by it and gets a thrill, and is always arguably better than Dick Grayson or Jason Todd or any of the others. She was always the best, but she did it for the fun, the thrill, stop some crime. That comes in here, and that's part of the thing, and that's what Batman kind of doesn't like. It's like you don't get it. This guy is a psychopath after her and likes redheads, and there's some weird stuff on that. And she doesn't take it seriously enough. She's confident, but overconfident, and doesn't anticipate how nutso this guy is. Just infatuated with her. That leads to tension back and forth, and it's like, do I stay, do I not? What happens? They get into an argument, they start fighting, she one-ups him, that's the word, and they kiss. And Batman's into it, and they do it, we presume. The mask comes off, the top comes off, just a bra, we flash up. A couple days later, they're talking, and Batgirl's not getting calls back from Batman. Finally, he answers, and she goes, it was just sex, doesn't have to be anything else. Maybe it was, maybe it isn't, who knows? People are up in arms over this. In that Batgirl's just Batman's sex. And Batgirl's the daughter, in the sense of that, because Batman and Gordon are friends. Batman's the father figure to all these. He's not the father figure to Batgirl. And over a historic time, that's always kind of been the perception. He's the teacher, they're the students. That usually is an adult, younger scenario. Here, Batgirl is portrayed as simply an adult woman who wants to be with this guy. The right circumstances happen in that moment to make it happen. Because he even says earlier, is there sex? God, no. But turns out, oh God, yes. And Batman has the same reaction. She's an adult woman that wants to be with him, and he wants to be with her. And they do it, and it's just sex. And it's allowed. That's okay. They're mature adults, period, dot, let's move on. Is it historically what we've known from Batman and Batgirl? No. And that's where everyone's up in arms. I have no problem with it. The reason none of that is really needed is because now it makes Barbara Gordon being shot in the spine, it makes it personal for Batman. Well, it didn't have to be, because Batman's already a good character, and he's already a strong character, and this is his partner. And even if it wasn't, it would be a person that he'd have to save anyway. Like, the idea of, oh, I'm against this, I'm against that, this is horrible, and all these things for rape and this, because that's implied with Killing Joke, and they really go there with one of the aspects of it. When Joker gets out, Batman goes to find him and goes to his usual haunts whenever he escapes. And he goes to this one spot, and it's like the hookers are there, and it's like he's not been around. Maybe he found something else to satiate his time. This is after she'd been shot, and he was undressing her, taking the photos. Yeah, it's pretty much presumed he raped her. So there you go. So that's in this. And Joker's vile. Like he's not a hero. He never is. Never consider him one. So that is all this, and that's to make it more personal for Batman. Well, it's also his friend's daughter. It's also his crime-fighting partner. It's also a human being. Because I always get upset about that when someone says, I imagine, like, if this happened to my sister, I'd be so upset. It's like, if it happened to some random woman standing next to you, you should be equally upset. Yeah, you'll be more upset if it's relations, but you should not have it be someone that you don't, like, that you know, to react with aberration and appallment. Right? And that's what I'm saying here. They didn't need to have a sexual relationship for Batman to be upset that Barbara Gordon got shot by Joker. At all. Does it help? No. It makes it personal, but then Killing Joke never was treated personal between them, so it kind of almost is like they set it up and don't follow through on it. The other part of all that is, at the end of the kind of intro stuff with Batgirl, she quits. She's like, this is it, I'll find something else to do, I'm done, this isn't going to work with us, I'm done being this. And there's a line when he says, like, we're partners, but we're not equals. And I'm sure there's whole feminist type upsetness over Batman for that, but it's teacher-student. It is. That's all that is. Don't read more into it than that, than man-woman. It's teacher-student, for the love of God. And that's part of why the relationship kind of can work, because it's not father-son like adopting Dick Grayson or Jason Todd. It's, hey, you're good, let's go. Okay? And I hadn't muted that. So, with all of that, he quits, Joker gets out, and he is visiting with, Barbara Gordon's visiting with her dad, and Joker shows up and shoots her in the spine. Simply to help drive Gordon nuts. It's not to target Batgirl, not to target Batman. And it's not even her out fighting some guy who got the better of her. She left that life and got shot in the spine. And that's even more tragic. That makes everything before that much more tragic. And what it does is it takes the idea of the Killing Joke and Batgirl being this character that we've all known and loved and doing this to her. This was the way of giving us basically a best of 1970s and 80s Batgirl in 30 minutes to show it. So, that all said, it's great. It's really well done in all that. It's an adaptation that's true, and then added stuff. And a complaint I saw some people talking about was that it's rated R, but doesn't really go all out for it. And it's rated R because obviously there's the rape theme there. It's a couple goons get shot in the head, but you don't see like exit wounds or anything. This is when they go down, then there's blood. You don't see like gore like you would in some anime. You don't get that, but it's absolutely adult. It's absolutely mature. It's got psychopaths and dead bodies, and they don't look away. So there is that. But I don't see why it couldn't have been a 13. Batman vs. Superman was just as tonally similar in its dark and. So I don't understand why this was a 13. People are saying, like, if it was going to be R, it should have really gone R. The thing is, the Killing Joke isn't any darker than what was portrayed. They nailed it. Outside of showing Commissioner Gordon's junk at one point, or Barbara Gordon naked in those photos, which you never did see in the Killing Joke, there's no reason to put him there. Like, there's no reason to add that. So why? So people, a friend of mine even said, like, they should have gone all out with the R. Well, no, then you're changing too much. Instead of this being an R-rated Batman Joker story, which when people think that, go down the road of like Dredd or RoboCop and just like all-out violent gore brutality, right? It's instead a Batman Joker story that is rated R. It kind of flirts with it just enough to get there, and they could have argued it back but went, nah, leave it. And it's R. There you go. So that's a weird aspect of it, but it made $3 million on the one day. There's going to be tonight as well added, Monday, Tuesday. But this is long enough. I've summarily spoiled it, and I don't want to do that with Hyperboles, but this one was much like Batman, Superman in that there's adaptations and just things they changed that are inherently going to affect the feelings towards it, which is an odd thing, but is what it is. So there you go. That's that. I'm going to go record the box officer for the Secret Life of Pets weekend and then work on stuff for the rest. It's almost midnight, so I'm going to knock through that one really quick and just get these up probably in time to be ready for the weekend of Bourne. So there you go. But, oops. Like, favorite, and subscribe. As always, share this stuff as well. It is Guilty Pleasure Cinema. I am on Reckless Eating as well. Look for that one on YouTube. I just had a thing comparing the Canadian Doritos Inferno and Roulette, and took forever to get a Roulette chip, so there is that. But I also have my own stuff, Guilty Pleasure Cinema. Cyclops Scott is the channel. You'll find that on Twitter as well. Also, Guilty Pleasure Cinema on Facebook, and my own as well. But thanks for watching. The Hyperbole for Ghostbusters, who knows? I might not actually bother that in theaters at this point, because I want to see with a crowd, but pretty well everybody went already, and that takes some of the fun away. So unless I find someone, I'm not going to go. I haven't seen the Bourne movie, so that's not exactly a priority either. I don't know what the next Hyperbole is going to be, but stay tuned. You'll see it, and box officers are coming. Thanks again.